Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey. I'm Josh.
And I'm Erin.
And today we're talking about bourbon pricing and a divisional shift? Question mark?
Welcome to the channel, bringing a real-world perspective to the real-world whiskey consumer.
Today we're talking about bourbon pricing as it relates to both retailers and the secondary market. We'll get into that in a minute. First, we got to get into the first sip. Tell them what it is.
First sip. This is becoming one of my favorite things to do, is where we try something that we have never tried before.
So we have a single sample pool of things that might stack up favorably to each other. Some are allocated, some are available. We don't know whether we're supposed to like this or not, but the key is that we've never tried it before and we don't know what we're drinking. So let's get into it and see what we think about whatever is in this glass.
All right. It kind of smells like raw steak.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm getting something and I
Kinda.
can't quite put my finger on it.
Like salted, like brined. Is that what it when you put salt on something?
Yeah, you brine it.
You like put salt on steak and then you let it sit. That's kind of what it smells like before you cook it. Ooh, and then alcohol.
I feel like when I smell this, I get a vision in my head of a fern. I don't know why.
I don't think I've smelled a fern in literal decades.
There's like a bourbony sweetness there. There's almost like kind of like a yeasty beer note behind all that. It's a very interesting, there's like something vegetal in there. I'm not 100% sure. I need to get on the palate with this.
Vegetal?
Like it's earthy and kind of, it's in the background though.
Is that a real word or did you just make that up?
Yeah, it's a real word. Let's get into the palate.
Josh is always making up words, but then they turned out to be real. They turned out to be real. I'm going to Google that later. Vegetal. It tastes like a vitamin.
It's there on the palate too.
Tastes like a vitamin.
Whatever it is, it's there on the palate too. Whoa. That is, I mean, I should have known off the nose, but that's such a weird nose. I wasn't expecting to get all that stuff translating to the palate. There's a vitamin-y note there for sure. There's that vegetalness there. But then on the other side of the equation, it's like a yin and yang in a glass. There's also a really appley candy sweetness, almost like a green Jolly Rancher in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. This is very weird. I wonder if this is a rye and it's just throwing me for a loop-de-loop.
I'm listening. I'm just Googling vegetal.
She doesn't believe me.
Vegetal? How do you
I'm so glad.
How do you spell that?
This should be bloopers, but it's staying in the episode.
Wow. I'm sorry.
What's it say?
I apologize.
Tell the people what it says.
Vegetal, vegetable, vegetative, or of or relating to the vegetal pole of an egg, or to the part of an egg from which the endoderm normally develops. Vegetal blastomeres.
I didn't mean that. I don't know.
My thing is, it is a word.
There's another V word then that starts when it comes to wine and whiskey. That means like a kind of an earthiness, but it's like a specific type of earthiness.
Okay, this is dictionary.com. I think I was...
What does dictionary.com know about whiskey?
Of or relating to the nature of plants or vegetables.
There you go. It's like a plant, like there's a difference between earthiness and like a plant earthiness, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
okay. I apologize.
We are off the rails.
For ever doubting you.
You just said I make up words that then turn out to be real.
I know you
words.
do, but like...
Drink the whiskey. Tell the people what you think.
It just makes me feel dumb and I don't like it.
Okay, it's after having a sip, that weirdness is getting a little bit more cohesive in the glass on the nose.
Yeah, it still tastes like a vitamin. It's good though.
Really interesting.
But I've never had any whiskey taste like a vitamin before.
A lot of people say George Dickel Tennessee whiskey has a very vitamin-y note. And I'm not mad at it. I'm getting that on this. Usually with Dickel, it's like an orange Flintstones vitamin.
Oh, those are so good though.
This is not that though.
This tastes like a Whole Foods vitamin.
Yeah, this reminds me of like when people talk about terroir in wine and like you can taste the soil. Like that's what this reminds me of. I don't know whether I like this or hate it.
I don't hate it. I might even like it.
I'm surprised you're not head over heels for this, as earthy as it is.
I feel like the vitamin-ness of it has just shocked me. I don't quite know what I'm thinking. And it's building, like it's getting warmer as I'm drinking more of it.
All right, let's give this thing some ratings.
Okay.
This is one of the strangest pours we've had, I think.
Bizarre.
So let's get into it. Nose flavor experience. What do you think?
So for me, it gets just okay on the nose.
Okay.
It gets thumbs up on flavor, and then also thumbs up on experience.
Interesting. I'm really torn on this glass. I mean, part of me wants to give it like a just okay or even a thumbs down on everything. And then another part of me wants to give it a thumbs up on everything for being as unique as it is.
Yeah.
It's coming across to me somewhat like a rye. So I don't know of any bourbons that taste like this. So this to me has to be some type of rye that's coming at me really sideways. For me personally, I'm going to give it a thumbs up on the nose because I do enjoy picking apart the nose.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a just okay on the flavor. It's good. It's just different from what I personally prefer. So it's not something I would reach for in that regard. And then I'll give it a thumbs up on the experience as well because it is just so unique.
It is it's different.
It is very different. It's probably not a bottle that I would rush out and buy personally, but man, it's fun to try. Whatever it is. Let's find out what it is. This is, wow, this is Kentucky Par 12-year bourbon.
It's a bourbon.
It's a bourbon.
Wow.
Wow.
That's kind of surprising.
This is 100 proof, non-chill filtered, rumored to be sourced Barton.
Okay.
I'm not getting that at all, but let me go back to it with that in mind.
It's a very unique flavor profile.
Wow, it is very unique, which is makes me think that Barton may have, and I'm not sure it's Barton. Let me know in the comments below if you know Kentucky Par sourced from somewhere else. But there's not a lot of 12-year stuff floating around. Maybe it's Heaven Hill. I think it's probably so off profile that, they source it out because they think, well, we're not going to use this as our regular product. But I think it's a somewhat limited product, but because of the high price tag and the label is kind of simple looking, I don't think it sells very fast. So in our market, you can usually find it if you go around to a few stores, but I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's great availability.
What's the price?
I think the price is about $120 or $130 for this.
Okay.
So with that said, let's talk about it. Retail rating, price and availability. Where are you at on Kentucky Par 12-year?
For me, I'll probably just give it just okay on the retail score. It's on my upper level of comfort for price, but I don't love it enough to spend that much unless it was like this bottle I just wanted to have somebody try. But it would have to be somebody who's already into whiskey. So just gets just okay on retail score. And
then one sitting in front of you at a store on a shelf for $120. Are you buying it?
Just okay.
Just okay. Like, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Depends on how you're feeling that day. If you're feeling a little froggy. For me, I'm probably going to do the same. I'm probably going to give it a just okay on the retail score and then just okay on consumer score. This glass is an enigma to me. Part of me wants to give it thumbs down on both of those, but then also because of its uniqueness, I want to give it a thumbs up on both of those.
Well, I ain't mad at the sample, and I'm going to finish drinking it.
Yeah, so this is a generous sample / the last bit of a bottle that Brian Ware gave us, our friend,
thank you,
local
Brian.
Person, and patron of the channel. So the Bourbon Engineer. The Bourbon Engineer, if you see him in the comments or the chat. So this stuff is super unique. I'm super happy to have it. If I were going to have 5 bottles of whiskey in my house, this would not be one of them. But if I'm going to have
a lot,
105 or maybe a few more bottles of whiskey in my house, then I'm super happy to have a little bit of this one in there.
It's unique.
Because it's so unique. It's such an interesting experience. So kudos to Kentucky Par for putting out something that doesn't taste like everything else on the market. I'll give it that. And we're trying to offer something different over on our Patreon page as well. So if you check the video description below and you like these little capsule reviews that we do 2 additional videos over there every single week. And they are very much like this, but even more loose.
They're actually way more low key because normally they're at the end of the day and we're in our PJs.
Yeah. And they're uncut, so the bloopers are built in. But we do 2 of those. We taste new bottles that we get in. We taste samples, taste all kinds of stuff, take requests. It's just a ton of fun. We really enjoy those. We also do blind flight nights over on our Patreon where you get a blind flight night, you get a blind flight, you don't get the night. We share the night because we get on a live stream together and do the blind flight together, and it's coordinated and it's a ton of fun, and we're just really focused on community and having a good time over there. So if that sounds interesting to you, check it out below.
Also below this video is the like button. give this video a thumbs up if you've watched it so far. And if you haven't subscribed and you watch us regularly, then subscribe. What are you waiting for? Come on.
And hit the bell too, because that'll let you know when our next live stream is, our next public live stream. We do those once a month, and they're a ton of fun.
I'm all about chastising people who haven't subscribed. I think I've gotten us a few subscribers from that.
Maybe. She will shake her finger firmly and sternly at you.
I will shake my fist and my finger at you, and you don't want that.
All right, let's get into our main topic, and we're talking about pricing as it relates to retailers and the secondary market. And the idea for this episode came through the podcast. Shout out to Will and the Grease, who are local Nashville people. I mean, they're down in Franklin, but we'll claim them as Nashville.
Yeah.
Maybe Will, maybe not the Grease, but nonetheless, those guys are a great channel. They do great work over there, and they've been at it for a long, long time in podcast format, but they're now on YouTube and they're killing it over there as well. Ton of fun to watch, and they have a recent topic of conversation that centers around this divisional shift, which I'm still not 100% sure what it is, and I'm not sure Grease knows what it is either. But nonetheless, it's the idea that retailers are going to have to start raising prices because there's too much money being made on the secondary market. I think that's what Grease is getting after.
So they haven't done it yet, but they're going to probably do that?
Well, some are. Some have raised prices.
Okay.
So there are stores in our market and plenty of markets out there that you'll walk into and you'll see things listed at secondary or sometimes even higher. They may have a Weller Special Reserve, which is a $25 bottle of whiskey. They may have it for sale for $100 or $150.
Wow.
Yes. They may have Blanton's.
That's insane.
They may have Blanton's $60, $70 whiskey. They may have it on sale for $300. On sale. For sale, I should say. Not on sale. You're definitely not getting a sale on these things. But they take these whiskeys that are really prized, really allocated, and really sought after, where the demand is really high, and then they mark them up. And some stores do it and some stores don't.
Okay. And is that because people are buying it at a store and then selling it on the secondary market for profit?
Yeah.
So they're trying to reduce that profit margin.
Right.
Okay.
Well, they figure maybe if I don't know what these stores think. I'm going to make some assumptions here, but I'm going to assume that there's a few different avenues of thought. One of which is, and I'm going to use a bottle specifically for example because we missed out on Jack Daniel's Coy Hill. We did get to try a sample. It knocked our socks off.
It's so good, you
and
guys.
I wanted a bottle of it this year, but I couldn't buy one because it's for sale for $70. But people buy them up and then they turn around and sell them for $450, for $600, for $700, for $800 on the secondary market. So what happens is stores either hold them for lotteries because they find out it's really prized and allocated and it's going for big money. Or what they do is they just mark it up in stores themselves and they figure, you know what? Instead of selling this for $70 and letting somebody make $700 on it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it for sale for $600 or $700 or maybe $500. And so if somebody buys it, they're making less profit if they flip it. There is a little bit of a dilemma here, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it ethical for stores to mark up whiskey well above what it should be sold for?
I mean, that's kind of like you're talking about pharmaceutical companies marking up drugs because they can.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And that's something I don't want to get too far in the weeds there, but like that's a correlation.
But it's not just whiskey or any other thing. Like this applies to something like lumber in the middle of some of the last couple of years, building materials. Like when there's supply and demand and the demand is really high and the supply is very low, then that means prices rise. That's just what happens. And I'm all for free market economics. I think we both are here.
I need a drink for this conversation and I'm out of my whiskey. So,
but you know, when it comes to this sort of stuff, and this is where I'm going to take a hard right turn from Will and Grease's conversation, is that in a lot of bourbon groups, I see people who criticize retailers who charge secondary prices, which they're running businesses and they're just trying to feed their families with that money. But then they don't criticize the secondary market for buying stuff at retail and then selling it at secondary prices. Yeah. So in my mind, these retail stores, they're just playing along at the game that we created by building all this hype for these whiskeys. Now, I've bought Stag Junior at $60 a bottle before, and I've also bought it at $100 a bottle. and I wasn't happy buying it at 100. I'd rather buy it at 60.
Oh, yeah, who
But I
wouldn't?
understood why the store marked it up to 100, because somebody might buy it at 100 and then turn around and sell it for 300. We have to take some personal responsibility and accountability for what's going on in the market. In my opinion, you can't point fingers at retailers and not point some fingers back at yourself as well. And that might be a hardline stance, and I don't mind taking it in this particular thing. Now, with that said, pay what you want to pay for whiskey.
Yeah.
Like, it's your money. Different people operate. You remind me of this all the time. Different people operate under different constructs. So just because I'm only willing to pay $30 for Weller Special Reserve doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and pay $100 or $150.
I mean, if that's your favorite whiskey of all time and it's worth it to you to pay $100, $150, then do it.
Yeah.
Like there are things outside of the whiskey space that other people might think I'm crazy for spending money on, but to me, it is important, and so I do, and I don't feel bad about it. Same goes with whiskey.
Right. And I think that's the point we're driving towards here, is that you determine what something is worth to you, but the market is only going up right now, and retail stores, whether they are or aren't playing along, more and more as the market goes up, it's likely that more stores will go along with that.
Yeah.
So as long as we're going to keep building this hype, then the prices are only going to keep going up.
And I don't see the hype dying down. I see the hype because of many factors. I see the hype and the FOMO just shooting up. So I see retail prices just shooting up too.
Yeah. And this is a good tease, because next week on Tuesday, we're going to talk about why it's the best and worst time to be a fan of bourbon in particular. But
I fed right into it.
We're actually going to film that right after this. So nonetheless.
Cool.
Yeah. And this kind of ties into it. So they're kind of themed together. But I think you're right. I don't think things are going to change anytime in the short-term future.
Yeah.
So there's only a couple things you can do, and we'll talk about that more next week. To put a button on this particular point, I want to offer an example. So for instance, George T. Stagg 2 or 3 years ago was selling for $300 on the secondary market. Now it's selling for over $1,000 on the secondary market.
Are you kidding me?
No. The whiskey hasn't changed. Only the hype has changed. The secondary values on everything is going up, and the whiskey isn't changing. If anything, most suppliers are actually decreasing the age a little bit to meet demand as best they can. So
they can make
kind of
more.
the whiskey might be getting worse, allegedly, and people are paying more money for it. So
wow.
I just want to put a button on that with this.
This is insane, you guys.
Right. And this is honestly why we do what we do here on this channel, because these blind tastings and comparing things without the hype of the label, it really shows you what shines through as special and what shines through as kind of average. And like we say in every head-to-head, most things fall in the middle of the bell curve when you're tasting them totally blind.
Allocated, non-allocated, expensive, non-expensive. A lot of things are in the middle of that bell curve.
Yeah, there's always another bottle of whiskey. That's
true.
what we say. That's
true.
always another bottle coming down the pipeline. And we'll get into that on our next Tuesday episode when we talk about why it's the best time to be a fan of bourbon. So stay tuned for that. And for right now, let's get into our other stuff.
Okay.
So this episode is coming out right before Valentine's Day. I almost said Thanksgiving. I don't know why I mix those up.
Because Thanksgiving is awesome.
I think it's because Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday and Valentine's Day is my least favorite.
And my birthday
fake holiday.
Also around Thanksgiving, because that's the best time of the year.
But let's talk about something fun to do on Valentine's Day. And for this, I actually got this for you for your birthday.
Yeah.
But if you're a person that has a significant other and they like games and they like game nights and things like that, we're going to throw in To Hunt a Killer.
That was our date night for much of 2021, and it was so fun. We would normally cook. I would ask you to make spaghetti bolognese because Josh makes an amazing spaghetti bolognese.
Have some wine.
We get some wine. We'd get a little Spotify playlist going, and then we would
hunt a killer.
Hunt a killer. And every month they would send us this package. It was clues for 6 months. Every month we got a clue for 6 months, or a package of clues for 6 months, and then we ended up solving a cold case. It was a lot of fun. Be prepared to, if you're going to do this, to decode ciphers and take notes and have to refer back to them. But it was It was a lot of fun.
By the way, this is not sponsored. You know, we're not getting any kickback from this. It's just something that we enjoy doing. That's what we always bring to you guys. As far as we're concerned, we're not going to recommend anything that we don't like doing ourselves. So check it out in the video description below. We've got a link down there. And have some fun on Valentine's Day with your significant other. That's it for this week, guys. Till next week.
Cheers.